Welcome back to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle. And our first guest today is George Tintillis, somatic psychotherapist, and he's talking about releasing anxiety today. So welcome, George, and releasing. How do we release anxiety?
So today we're going to talk about anxiety, a big one for a lot of people. Last time we talked about trauma, and today I want to break up trauma in a bit more specific, more detail. We've got, with trauma, you've got two ends of the scale. You've got the hyperarousal, which is anxiety, and then you've got hypoarousal, to use a technical term, which is depression. We're going to talk about that next time. But today it's that hyperarousal, that fear, that anxiety, and at extremes when you're panicking and hysterical and freaking out of your body. Or when you get a phobia, that something triggers you and you're just scared. Public speaking is a big one. Very common for people to be terrified of public speaking. Had that myself, and healed it years ago. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here looking at a camera. But anxiety is a big one, and really, what you want to be able to do is feel safe and feel in your body, and then get to the point where once you're in your body, to let that anxiety release. Because obviously, there's something there in the past, some event. Something happened in the past that triggered you, you blocked it off, you got on with your life, and it just stayed there. And then something happens in your life which triggers it, like public speaking, which is so big for a lot of people. If you have to all of a sudden talk in front of people, people freeze. Or when you get a phobia, if people go up heights or get on planes, or it can be anything. Something that triggers this anxiety. It could be a particular way your boss speaks to you, triggers you. And you're walking around with this anxiety and fear. And it's just one little part of your body, somewhere in your brain. There's some event in the past that basically you got scared. Like I mentioned with trauma, you thought, I've lost control here, I could get hurt, I could get injured, I could die here. And so it sets in. So how do you deal with that? Well, anxiety, the way it looks in the body is, it's high-pitched, and I'm scared, you're leaving your body. So the number one thing you want to do is feel safe. And to feel safe, you've got to come back into your body and center yourself. So you want to breathe, again, back to that mindfulness, back to that body-based mindfulness, closing your eyes, that meditation style, where you close your eyes, come back down, and you want to feel your belly breathing. Not the chest breathing, which is what anxiety normally does, and your heart's racing. You want that belly breathing, because we lose our belly, we lose our legs. So you want to crunch your toes, feel your toes, press your feet into the ground, ground yourself, and breathe into your belly and start to feel yourself in your belly, not up here, high pitch, where you're ready to just leave your body and be above it because that anxiety is taking over. And to feel safe. So you want to feel your body again, like I mentioned with trauma, and calm down. You want to calm down and really, so your voice can then drop. And then once you access it, then the trauma response happens. Once you're back down in your belly, then you're going to get the little twitches and little shakes, and you want to let them happen. Let them happen, and then your body will just diffuse, discharge the flight response. Next week we'll talk about the fight response, which is depression, causes depression. So this time it's that fight response, which is why also interval training is good, exercise is good, going for a run if you get anxious is very good. Work it off, and because your body just wants to run, flee from this event that whatever it was triggered you, and you may not even remember the event. Most of the time you don't, because it's subconscious. And again, most of them go back to childhood. Something happened, present moment triggered it. Work it out. So just run on the spot, or if you've got a stationary bike, or dancing it off helps. Highly recommend everyone dances at least once a week. Very important, and I'll recommend other things for depression next week, but this time it's movement to get the flight out of your body, and very important, very important.
That's huge for us, isn't it? Movement and breathing. That comes up in exercise, or sort of a lot of sports. They tell you to do that with the movement, to take the breaths, that rhythmic breathing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, it's crucial to life. I mean, there's a certain way of breathing deeply where you're coming fully into your body, because you want oxygen to go through your whole nervous system, and in anxiety it leaves your legs. You're shallow breathing, and you're basically cutting off circulation. And then if you start to worry as well, if you're in your head, that just doubles it. So you've got to clear out the worry by meditating, coming down into your belly, even running on the spot, go for a walk, and look at objects as well. That's a good one also, is to look around the room to get present in the moment, because you'll be going off this part of your body that has the anxiety will be going off thinking the worst thing is going to happen. Go for a walk and notice objects and even name them to get you present just in this moment, to get out of that future worry of what might happen and any memory of that trauma that occurred back that caused the original trauma, which actually isn't an issue now because you're a full adult. And again, like I said before, mostly happens in childhood. But that little part of you that's blocked off is terrified, could be panicking. So you want to feel your body, go for a walk, even go for a run for 10, 20 seconds, just work it off. It discharges the flight response, and then you can relax, put a blanket around you. If you have a bath, take a bath is really powerful because you've got water all over your body. Most people don't have baths these days, but you can do shower therapy. Stay under the shower a long time, very powerful, because you're getting the touch you need and you're getting present in the moment to let that part of you that's terrified to realise it's actually safe. There's actually not an issue here. What you're about to do, whatever's triggered you, isn't that bad, and you just want to calm down, and again, not have to take a pill to do it naturally, and that's the best way. That's the best way. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And for more information on George and releasing anxiety, then please go to our website healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Welcome back. And next we have Dr. Zara Chelik, our integrative health and wellness expert. And she's back with us today to talk about mindfulness. So, Dr. Zara, mindfulness is a huge topic.
Huge one at the moment globally, right? It's like a trending word, like, so we had the self-care, which I talked about, and now mindful is another one, buzzing one, which I love to touch on to them, bring some, put my input into it. And we all have different perceptions and different reflective awareness about mindfulness. So I love to educate our audience and give my perspective on that. So it's overly used, as we all know, but not many people actually know what it exactly means. In fact, I was just talking to one of the young university students, and she knew I was doing a podcast and with somebody else, and then she asked me how it went, and it somehow led to this mindfulness. So I was so intrigued to find out really her perspective and what it meant for her in terms of being mindful. And I sort of got to understand and see what universities were teaching and where the students were at. So I thought, it'll be great to sort of bring a bit of light onto this topic. So mindfulness is when the mind is completely balanced. If you think of like an algebra maths equation going back to our early high school, sort of late primary school years, where this one side of the equation equals to the other side of the equation. And that's exactly is what mindfulness is in the mind. So we have two minds. We have the immanent mind, and then we have the transcendent mind. Immanent mind is the amygdala. Transcendent mind is the prefrontal cortex. So I know a bit of neuroscience there. That's okay, but I'm going to explain it more. So when we are in amygdala, we are in fight, flight, freeze. So when we are self-judging, self-critical, or judging other people, or we are living in the trauma, or we have a lot of neuroassociation pattern, we relate to things our past or event took place, we stay at the immanent mind. And we are going to be at fight, flight, freeze. So then that makes the mind unbalanced because we are spending a lot of time in the amygdala, which is the immanent mind. But I like people to be also aware of and become objective and authentic by becoming aware of the transcendent mind, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive center of the brain. At that brain, when we are at prefrontal cortex, when we are objective, we become authentic, we become creative. So when we are critical or we have body dysmorphic things, which we talked about as well previously, we spend more time focusing on what is not right rather than seeing objectively what it is there for us, and it is happening for us, not to us. When we become aware of the other side of the equation, we go into that transcendent mind. We become objective. We have reflective awareness. So we are not self-critical. We are seeing things as they are. We're not resenting others. We are not infatuated with other people. We're not admiring them and putting them up here, because we're becoming reflective, and we're aware of the things that we see in them is also in us. So that will make us more objective, and we have the reflective awareness. I hope I'm not confusing here. I know I'm talking neuroscience, I've got a lot of things going on, but I'm going to explain it more.
So is this with things like, we talked earlier about overthinking, how that can take over?
Correct. So even overthinking, when we're overthinking, overjudging, criticizing, I'm not good enough, I'm not fit enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not rich enough, I don't have the education, the whole, trying to, having the fear, the mind becomes imbalanced. So you're not mindful, you're half mindful, because you're focusing on one side of things and you're not seeing the other things, or you're focusing on one side of of you, and you're not aware of the other side of you. You're with me there. So that creates the imbalance. Or when we're resenting people, we see all the bad things that they did and how it disadvantaged us, right? But we don't get to see how that person also served us. The minute we see the other side of how that person served us, in the case of resentment, that makes us mindful. In the case of infatuation, when you're admiring somebody, for example, oh, they're so beautiful, they're so fit, they're gorgeous, we have this fantasy, right? That makes us one-sided, so that's half mindful. But the minute we also see it in our form, hey, I've also been fit, I'm also fit in this form, I'm intelligent also, or I'm also wealthy, and I've actually displayed and demonstrated in these sort of situations, and I see it as in me, it's part of me, that makes you again mindful. So the equation is balanced. And that's why I say think of it as a mathematical model, bit of like an algebra. This side of the equation equals this side of the equation. So when you are aware of only one side of events, you are half mindful. But when you're aware of both sides, you are mindful completely. And that's the thing that actually, when I talk to people, they meditate, try to be mindful, and it's overly used, right? We try to become mindful, and we're meditating, and we're investing in ourselves, and it's nice bit of cultural movement globally. People are trying to be mindful, have mindful eating, mindful thinking, mindful language. But if you're not mindful of what's happening within you, then you're not going to be fully mindful. You're half mindful.
So it's like that confusion then that takes over when the confusion, we're not balanced in the mind.
Yeah, so when you're confused, you're not balanced in the mind. So when you're fully aware and you've got reflective awareness and you become objective, then you're authentic yourself. You see, whatever is in other people is actually in you. There's nothing missing, and there's that equity and balance and equanimity within you. Then you are fully mindful, and the biochemistry of the mind is balanced. Because the minute that you're actually critical, the biochemistry shifts. The biochemistry of the mind shifts. The biochemistry of the brain shifts, the biochemistry of the body shifts. But when we are mindful, there's a balance, and that balance within is called equanimity. That's what, homeostasis basically.
What would be your top hint for our viewers, something they can take away today just for themselves to?
So become aware of the language that you're using and see if you are present with yourself. But if you're even struggling with that, see what your mind is doing. Are you focusing only one thing? Are you, for example, judging or criticizing yourself about maybe an event happened during the day? If you are, catch yourself, stop and pause, and see what it is actually there, and find the opposite of it. So, for example, if you're resenting somebody, say, well, okay, what am I resenting them? What am I exactly resenting them for? And then see the benefit of that inaction, or the trait that you're resenting the individual for, and see how that is also serving you, the benefit of that to you. So then you balance that out. If it is an infatuation, you admire somebody, find it in your own form. Then once you find it, that's also balanced. If you're judging somebody else, same thing applies. What are you exactly judging them for? How is it a disadvantage to you when you're judging them? Not just the advantage. So then you balance it there too. So try to find balance, but become aware of your language pattern and the language and the words that you use, and see if you can get on to asking yourself the questions to balance the mind.
Well, thank you very much for that. And for more information on Dr. Zara Chelik and mindfulness, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now for break. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. And next we have Leah Istati, who's an artist and energy healer. And she's here today to talk to us about creativity. So what is it about creativity that's brought you here today to share, Leah?
Thank you, Linda. I'd love to talk about that. Well, I've encountered in my life and surroundings people who seem to be a little bit lost. They seem to be in a state of desperation at times, sometimes happy, but since we're human, it's not always possible to stay in a positive state. So I've been thinking a lot about that recently, and as much as we have mindful meditation, which is clearing the mind, there are other forms of not obvious meditative states that can assist us to be in the present moment. And so that might be things like singing, drawing, doodling, walking in the park, perhaps gardening for some. But more importantly, it also gives people a state of mind, instead of thinking of past occurrences, that might keep them in the past, might keep them sad, might keep them in a place that's not conducive to the present moment. It takes them out of that place. And also, if we argue, well, we start worrying about the future, which everyone does, I do. But then I pick myself up and say, stop that. And thinking about the future is counterproductive because we can't do anything about it.
No, it makes us more anxious,
Makes us
doesn't
more
it?
anxious.
Yes.
So what's the point? So I think it's important for people to know to do mindful pursuits to keep themselves present, because in the present is the only time we have. It's the only thing we seemingly can control. It's the only time that we can be spontaneously happy. And so things like that might be, you pick up a book, or a sketchbook rather, or even some people use written books, and when they're done with them, instead of throwing them out, they might doodle in them.
It's a great way to be environmentally friendly, isn't it?
It is. You're recycling. Or you buy just a cheap sketch pad from anywhere and you start doodling. Or you might ask someone to make a scribble. And so with that scribble, you might indulge in, what will I do with it? Will I colour it in? Will I finish it? Will I add extra lines? And another thing you can do with regards to allowing the brain to switch and have peace is you might use the hand you don't normally use to start drawing. It's very difficult. You might think, oh no, how can I do that? But it's actually easy once you try it. The point is this: whatever you do, and I'll go into more in a moment, never ever do it in a state of ego. Never do it in a state of, my goodness, that's terrible. Don't show anybody. If anyone's ever read The Artist's Way, that book talks about doing creative pursuits, but then not having an opinion. Don't show anyone. Don't even look at it yourself. So put it away and leave it. Because as soon as your ego gets involved, as soon as your ego says, oh, that's terrible, that's horrible, what did I do? It just kills the entire process. The process is the process. There's no ego, there's no judgment involved at all. So,
well, that's just all very amazing. There's so much information you
it
have
is,
to
and
share.
we're just skimming the surface here. So it's quite exciting, quite exciting.
Thank you very much for joining us
That's
today
okay.
and sharing all that wonderful information.
Thank you.
And for more information about Leah and creativity, then please go to our website, Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle. And for now, we'll say bye-bye and we'll see you next week.